All right, that was Eddie Izzard in Cake or Death in their 1999 tour. We are just going to blow past the fact that Eddie is in a kimono, and we'll talk about appropriation on another day. For today, we're just going to be talking about how Eddie Izzard has been doing drag for about 35 years. And was in two different modes. There was boy mode and then there was girl mode. And Eddie kind of went back and forth throughout their career, kind of deciding, when I'm in movies, Eddie says, call me he and him. But in drag, it was, she. And there was this kind of, back and forth. And, you can see the transition of Eddie in 1999. And if you look at her work now, you can see that, drag is now officially, she's taking on that role of she versus just drag. Anyway, so please take a look at Eddie Izzard's article and just kind of understand that for Eddie, and going back and forth between this boy mode and girl mode, to be able to officially go into a place where Eddie could no longer be seen as someone saying he or him, to the point where they're like, Eddie, you can change your pronouns, but you're she now. And Eddie was like, I have been given this honor to become she. And I believe that's, all Eddie was really leaning for ultimately, and got there. And without really realizing that was their ultimate goal, they were just kind of trying to figure out who they were throughout their career. And, personally, I enjoy it. It's just a personal take on it. I liked to watch that, all the way through and see where Eddie is now. Again, you'll still see Eddie portray, I believe, Ocean's 11 or 12 or 13, maybe all of them, I can't remember. Eddie plays male roles within the movies, and so that's what acting is, right? Portraying whatever. But in personal life, Eddie prefers she. So anyway, the most important thing to gather from this class is the identity of individuals is what matters. That's the point. We are, we label ourselves in either positive or negative ways. We choose labels sometimes. We don't choose labels. We give labels. Not all labels are good. Not all of them are bad. Many are choices. Many are not. It's just important to be mindful of things that when we use certain labels, like, I have PTSD from the, like, if you really, really do, you really do. And please try not to use these terms and diminish it for those who really truly suffer from it, right? So that's just something I want you to be cognizant of as we move forward. And then last but not least, I'm trying to bring this all together in a little, little bow by having you read the book, I Want a Dyke for President. And I want you to recognize that, when was this written and does that matter? And again, when we look at Eddie Izzard in 1999 versus Eddie Izzard now, right, we can say within the last just 10 years how things change so dramatically. And that might matter in how we communicate with each other and how we create labels. So anyway, let's take a look at I Want a Dyke for President, and understanding the labelness and the quote unquote humanness in which Leonard is trying to create a president. And our question could be, do we want a president like us, or do we want someone that we've created that feels ultra human, beyond us, untouchable in a sense? Or do we want someone who's gone through what we've gone through so that we can say, you understand me? And that's a really good question to ask us, especially when we think of labeling and how we might label a president, or how, if we were to give a president some labels, would that change how we saw the president? And it's kind of tough now. We're just going through a lot of stuff politically. So this project worked. It's worked in the past. I don't know if it's working so much in the future as we move forward. But I do think it's important to recognize, how are we seeing politicians, and if we're seeing them more as a human versus these powers above us, does that change how we respect them or not respect them, or whatever the case might be? So anyway, the whole point is trying to connect humanness with labels and how the labels might pull away from the humanness at hand. So anyway, go ahead and take a look at that, and that will be your discussion. And I hope that what you gathered from all of this is just, I'm trying to lean you to understand, who are you as a person. You know, how might you break your mind open to recognize things you're like, oh man, I'm being like oppressed by my own thoughts or what I think society thinks I need to be, right? I just want you to break the world open. And, you know, if you are frustrated by the topic matter, remember when we talk about fear, where might you have fear within these conversations? And if your urge is to say something, you know, derogatory or rude or like defensive, why? And so I want you to constantly be asking yourself as we go through, why do I have an urge to be rude or aggressive or angry or something in this moment? And just ask yourself, where's the fear? Because as we talk about more of these topics, you know, we might be parroting things other people are saying, and I would love it if you could pull away from the parroting that you're hearing from all these other people and maybe choose for yourself an understanding of who you are as a person versus who you think society needs, you know, labels you as. I don't know, this is your, you know, this is your journey, but that's the goal of this class, is to understand who we are as composers. So we need to find out who we are inside, so that when we're composing things, whether we're responding to peers or reading responses or anything else out in this world, who are we when we are out there? And are we doing things out of fear, out of, you know, a need to keep the label going for what we think we need to be? Or can we just be human beings? And what does that mean? So anyway, go forward, have fun, and I'll see you on the other end.